My dear friends, my dear masters, and my dear gods, it is my privilege to start yet another edition of the magnificent spiritual wisdom of Harold Percival from his book Thinking and Destiny. We have been gaining the insights into spiritual knowledge from Percival's book, and the unique wisdom that has been conferred to us thanks to Brahmarshi Pitamaha Patriji, who has been highlighting all the important messages from out of his book. The uniqueness of this great book is this great spiritual author has spent almost 32 years to compose the contents of this book and bring it into print in the year 1946. There are very many special features of this book, one of which is it is not material gathered from any other source except from the other worlds, because this is what information and knowledge that he has gathered by just sitting and getting the experiences and dictating the same after he had myriad experiences in New York on 14th Street. So, the message is not gathered or got from any other source except the other worlds. Hence, Percival has been humble enough to say that it is for the reader to take the good out of it and the best out of it and become a worthy citizen of this great cosmos. At this juncture, when we are passing through a period when there is more need for spirituality and spiritual wisdom, it is the word death that makes people know more and more, and it's our privilege to give you this knowledge from out of Harold Percival's great wisdom. We have already talked about death and dying, and today we are going to talk about another important subject related to death, which is the necessity of death. So I start reading the book, and I have with me Brahma Vidvarishta Girija Rajan and Purnima, another great meditator and master, a member of the PSSN, who has also read the book and has got comments to offer after we read portions of the book. So off I start. A human body is made up of many elemental units, which through it get a chance to change. They remain the same units, though their qualities and functions are changed. They can be changed only while a doer dwells in the body. The entire universe is related in its greatest and smallest, highest and lowest parts. All parts of nature are related to parts of intelligence. Some parts are more closely related, some more distantly. The relations run along two chains, the chain of nature and the chain of triune self. All the parts of each chain are necessary to each other. Physical human bodies connect them. When the doer no longer needs nature, it can let go and do without this link forever. But nature is always dependent on the doer and needs a link. Until the doer is self sufficient because of the amount of light that it can redeem for itself, it remains connected with the chain of nature. The chain of nature always needs the chain of triune self because it cannot get forms, desire, and the light except from a triune self.
Yeah, it's very good reading now from Harold W. Percival from his book Thinking and Destiny. It's amazing to know that this doer in the body has to connect itself with nature in order to perform in the body. So the body's functions or the changes like its growth or its decay of or the cell division and the changes the cells undergo, all these things depend upon nature machinery along with the doer. They perform all these things in the physical body. So physical body is rather used as a vehicle through which the doer gets enormous amount of experience and knowledge, and it turns it into its own wisdom. So the wise men are not born, they are made by only the experiences. That's what we have to understand from this paragraph, that it is very important for the doer to connect with the nature units and then perform the changes or get the experiences by working through the physical body. Exceedingly great message that has been given to us. So like this we go on for how long? We do not know. So from the time we are born till the end, this goes on like this. There are many changes that take place. We grow, we do so many things, and the doer keeps on getting so many experiences, and until it becomes wise enough, then it goes on like that forever and ever.
Hello friends. So such a beautiful message Mr. Percival has given us. So what he has actually told us is that the wise men or the realized masters get that light and are in complete control of their doer part, the knower part, and the thinker part, and that includes the body. Whereas the other people who have not yet realized, the body is connected with nature and everything happens very unconsciously. Like it is not we are not in complete control. So when we are not in complete control, we don't get the light of the triune self or the light of the intelligence. So we need to acquire that by continuously being conscious of our doer part. So that is what he is trying to convey here.
The link between nature and the doer is a human body. This link is temporal, existing for a span only. Its disappearance by death is necessary for several reasons. The portion of the doer existing in a human needs an opportunity to rest and to recuperate from the troubles incident to an earth life. It must be freed from the memories of its errors and misdeeds which would otherwise overwhelm it. It must be prevented from making more mistakes than it can correct. It does not assimilate in life all the events that come to it. They come bunched together or disguised, and the human must have time and be in a different state to separate, sort out, feel, and assimilate them. The doer in the human needs a purification from its earthly sins, and it must, while free from the bondage of the world, come into touch with the light of the intelligence so that the light can act upon it directly after the desires and emotions have burnt off. In life, a human has many thoughts of which he is only partly conscious, and then they disappear into another part of the mental atmosphere. After death, they become again real to the doer who goes over them until he is affected by them sufficiently. The continued projection of these thoughts is the cause of the after death states. The death of the body is chiefly for the benefit of the doer, but nature also requires it to get the desires for her energy and for her animal forms.
So, friends, here Percival is making it more clear, as I told you earlier, that we have to be more conscious, and that's when actually what happens is during death we go on to the other worlds, and there we get a kind of the afterlife experience, and that is actually real. That is what Percival says, that whatever is happening in life is a kind of dream. So we have, as we become more and more conscious, we actually bring in the same experience of the afterlife in this world. That is, we become more conscious, and that is when light of the intelligence is showered on us, and we become more like a master, like a Buddha. So he says this death is very important, and we each person should go through that, so that we get a clear picture of what we have done. We get a balance of the deeds we have committed, or we have what we have done. We'll get a clear picture and how we should improve on. So that is what the after death states give us. Like it shows us how more conscious we can be in our next existence.
Thank you, that was great. So, what exactly happens? We saw that the doer uses the physical body as a tool or a machine to get all its experiences. Along with the nature machine, both of them together work here on this body and get so many experiences. So, when the desire and the feelings are appropriate and they are performing very well, then the doer is able to perform very good acts through the body. But at the same time, we also commit so many mistakes. And for those mistakes, we need some rest to ponder upon what mistakes we have done and how to correct us or how to improve us. All those things need time. So he also goes on to say that we should never commit more mistakes than we can handle. So that is very important. So we should be aware of whatever we do. So when we commit a mistake, okay, it is over. Next time I will not commit it. So that sort of an awareness has to come. But mostly we see in humanity, people think that they are above board. They are not liable to commit any mistake. That is what we think. But that's what is the general thinking is. But it is not like that. Life really it offers both good and bad to be performed. That is what we do on this earth life, in this earth life. And once we go to the other side, that is leaving the body, and we move on to the other side of life, not the earthly life, then only we come to know what all mistakes we have done. So we need that time to ponder upon our own mistakes and correct them and to get rid of them, and the mistakes done by others, how to handle them. How we come across so many difficulties in this life. So we do need some rest. The physical body as a machine does need periodical rest through sleep, and also by death. Is definitely death is very important, because we do need to think upon We need to ponder upon the life that we have led on this earth so that we can further improve it and do good the mistakes, or we learn from the mistakes, or never to commit the same mistakes. So we move on like that. And how to pardon others, how to handle others' mistakes, how to be, sometimes we have to be hard on others, sometimes we have to pardon them. So all these things are there in life. So we have to think over and come to an understanding. Then only the next life can be more effective, better than the earlier life. So we keep on doing like this. So definitely we need a time called death, so that we can, something called the death, so that this life can be stopped somewhere, and then all those other matters, whatever we have done, can be thought upon and then worked out in another lifetime, another existence.
I would like to add, because it's such an interesting thing that we come to know through Percival, that there is a need for death. And death gives a chance for rest and recuperation for this soul and for the spirit. So, he says the link is temporal and existing for a span only. That is the link between nature and the doer. But then its disappearance is necessary for very many reasons. And one reason is it must be freed from the memories of its errors and misdeeds, which would otherwise haunt him. And similarly, it must be prevented from making more mistakes than it can correct. So that is one thing. And secondly, there is a need for purification. The doer in the human needs a purification from its earthly sins. It would have committed a lot of sins. But then unless it goes to the other side and gets a complete knowledge about what all misdeeds have been done, it cannot come back as a better doer, better person in this earth. So that reminds us that each lifetime, from what we have read and understood as members of the Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement, that every existence, every rebirth is for only improving the quality of each soul. So the more the number of souls, the greater is the eligibility for that soul to be called an old soul. So with every existence, with every rebirth, you become more and more pure. So Percival once again reminds us that as a period of purification, a process of purification takes place after death. So there is the need for death now and then, so that the soul becomes purer and purer and more eligible to be coming back to the earth as a Buddha or a Christ or a Krishna. So I go over to the next portion of this message. While the body lives, it links the chain of nature with the chain of the triune self. It allows a flow from doer to nature and from doer to the triune self. It allows all the worlds and beings and forces in them to reach into a doer, and the doer to have its adventures in nature. It allows nature to feel through a human. Nature has no feeling. She can feel only when her units as elemental beings become sensations when making contact with feeling in a human.
So it's very important that we have something called as a death, because it is very essential. Because as we live in this world, our mind gives a wrong picture about ourselves. He'll never say that we have done anything wrong at all. I am quite correct. I am right in whatever I say or do or think. That is what every common human thinks about himself. That is a picture that he gets from the mind. But it is not the correct picture. So definitely there is some dharma, there is some process that has to bring about dharma, that has to balance the life and the deeds of the life. So that is why we periodically go into something called as afterlife, after earth life, some life that is after this earth life. That has to be there. So see how benevolent nature is. It gives everything for us to become more and more pure, more and more wise, and wiser through all our experiences. So when we have learned something, yes, we have to undergo some test in order to know whether we have really fared well or not. So, or what we have ever done. So we have to look back. We have to go see the back papers. It is very essential. So for that, this death is very, very important. It offers us time to think over the past lives and then come to an understanding, to a better degree of understanding, and to purify ourselves and never to commit the same mistakes or mistakes in the same type of the same type. So what we want to commit more and more sins and get into that cycle. So we become through the death, nobody goes down, everybody improves and progresses. That is the truth that we should understand from here.
Friends, here I remember this story of Krishna and Shishupala. Shishupala commits 100 mistakes and Krishna kills him. And then Duryodhana asks Krishna why he killed Shishupala, and Krishna gives a beautiful reply. He says, I saved Shishupala's soul by blessing him with death. That is what Krishna says. So it really fits in here because all of us are like kind of, we are not that bad as Shishupala, but we are a little ahead of him. In degrees, we are better, but we need that death. We need death to go back and ponder on what all we have done. So this story really fits in here. So death is so very important. Krishna has made it so very clear in that part by giving us that the importance of death. And here in this reading, one other important message Percival Master has given us, that is the nature in by itself cannot have any feelings as such. It feels through us. When we feel, it experiences the feelings that we have, it experiences something. That is what Percival has told in this particular paragraph.
Yeah, it is wonderful that you cited this story from, it's a fitting story from the Mahabharata. Is Shishupala's death reminds us that death is very important, and because of death, he will improve himself. Otherwise, he would have committed more mistakes and degraded himself to a lower degree, and it's very difficult for the soul to realize and come to its original position. So that is why Krishna says, I have saved him from committing more and more mistakes, because we should be doing mistakes only up to the stage when we can handle them. So if one goes out of proportion or unconsciously does so many mistakes, then it will be very difficult for that person to come back to think over and to come back to the original self. It will take a long time. So death is a boon to humanity, really, to every being, because it gives us time to think over, to improve ourselves, to purify ourselves. It is really a great boon only. That's what Percival has really put forth so beautifully.
A human body keeps up the circulation of nature within the human world. Through it, nature gets the forms of her animals and plants, the beings that animate them, and her very gods. Except for a human body, she could get none of these. The elementals of nature become sensations in a human body. On the other hand, the doer has its feelings and desires moved by nature through a human body. The body furnishes the experiences from which the doer may have emotions, may learn, and may acquire knowledge. Without a human body, it would never grow out of nature and obtain freedom. The body is built so that the doer can get light of the intelligence in it, and there be conscious of what it thinks, feels, and does, and have commerce with nature under the light of the intelligence, and so that nature can get that light.
Very beautifully put by Percival. That is, the doer in the body cannot perform in the body or make the body work according to its wishes, desires, and all that, because it is nature that offers the elementals in order to the powers, in order to activate the human body. That power is also taken by the doer. The benevolent nature offers all that, and with that only the body works. And through that, we are able to get so many experiences, which is very, very essential for us to grow further and to move on. Otherwise, we'll be stuck somewhere. So we mostly live in an unconscious state, but we have to develop that consciousness, that awareness with which, if we live, then life will be far better. Then we commit less mistakes or no mistakes, and then move on in a beautiful way. So that is what Percival says, that the nature is so very bountiful to offer us all the help that is needed by humans for life on this earth plane.
I think we should celebrate because this message is such a beautiful message by Mr. Percival. We have all got a body, first of all. We have got this earth life. I think we should celebrate for that reason. It's not easy to get a body and take this beautiful journey. We have all got that, and we are now experiencing this, and more we are more fortunate because we are part of the PSSM. We have got into meditation. We are on this highest path, and we are towards getting self actualized. So we should all celebrate. This is a great moment, because here he says without the body we couldn't have achieved that great state. I think only physical plane gives us that experience, and it's the best and the shortest way to enlightenment, is what I feel.
Yeah, that's beautifully put by Purnimaji. That is what is taught in PSSM. And yes, we are all very fortunate to have got a body, to got this earth life, and got into the great spiritual movement called the Pyramid Spiritual Societies movement. So we should appreciate ourselves. It's a time for celebration.
With the death of the body, the link between the chains of nature and the triune self is destroyed. Thereby, the chains are separated. Nature later gets the animal desires of the doer and lodges them in animal bodies. The elemental matter that compose the body goes back into the four elements, and the elementals go into their elemental races. The four senses, after they have left heaven, may become nature spirits in human form. Some may become glorious beings in the elements. The elemental beings bear the stamp of the doer in the human body, in whose charge they were, and carry the marks of the acts performed by the doer while they were in the body. They retain these signs even though they have passed into 1,000 other bodies. The doer after death acts with itself, works itself, and churns itself. Under the light of intelligence, it goes through certain changes, which are a digestion and an assimilation of the thoughts its human being had in the past life. It does all this because of the light of intelligence. When it has worked over all that is possible and has rested, there is a void for the things that are absent from it. It begins to stir in such a way as to fill the void.
Yeah, it's a very great revelation by our Mr. Percival. That is, as we live in this body, the doer mostly disconnects himself from the other two parts, that is, the thinker and the knower. It usually happens like that. But as we grow, as the elementals work, they pass through so many bodies, the elementals, and then they come here to our body and work upon it. And with the help of the doer, it works. And mostly whatever is performed by the desires of the doer, the elementals get that stamp also. So like that we move on. Then as we grow, we do get connected to the other two parts, and then the light of intelligence will shower on us, and then we start growing further, and we come to know about all these matters very easily. Otherwise we were kept in the dark, because we have cut ourselves mostly off from the other two parts of the consciousness, that is the doer and the thinker and the knower. Only the doer is coming here and working without the connection that was there between the other two and this doer. So, and the three of them together they worked. But now, as we go into this life, earthly life, the life is such that we disconnect ourselves. The doer disconnects himself from all those things, and then he never gets the light of intelligence. Now, once he grows, he gets the light of intelligence, and then he ponders upon everything, and he gets back the knowledge of the past lives. And through that, he learns such a lot, and he can make this life even better by being conscious and aware.
So, such a wonderful and amazing message Percival has given. So much of technical part is there. I never knew that. When I heard him, it really amazes me. So this part, what he actually says is, the elementals that are working with us right now will pass on after us to other states or other planes, depending on how we were. If we carried negative thoughts and negative, so it will go, the elementals will go to a negative state. If we had higher thoughts, higher intentions, and our purpose of life was different, then the elementals will also graduate accordingly. So that is what Percival says. So we are actually responsible for even our elementals. So every thought of ours counts here. So every moment counts. So I think meditators definitely will have a more aware and conscious way of life.
Yeah, that is very, very well understood and very plainly put. So the elementals helps the doer to perform in the body. In turn, our thoughts, our views, our life itself forms an impression on the elementals, and so is interdependent. So how the elementals definitely they do play a part in our life, we also play a part in the elementals being. So very, very clearly put, very nicely explained by Purnimaji. Thank you so much, both Rajanji and Purnimaji. So we end this session with this note that is very good. It is a helper. It is definitely gives us more time to think and to develop ourselves.
So, the crux of the whole episode today is that unless we regulate our thinking, our destiny cannot be improved or bettered. And that's the only way to make ourselves as good souls, beautiful souls on this earth. And each time we come on this earth, it's a place where we learn. It's a school where we learn a lot and go back in a better form with greater knowledge, and particularly greater spiritual knowledge. Thanks to our great movement, Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement, we have been able to learn the day we entered this great field. So once again, we look forward to know how we can improve ourselves, and we will shortly be taking up another episode to know how we can do it. And the subject matter is sins, how sins are connected and how we can get over sins. So with this, I take the pleasure in ending this session. Thank you, Girja Madam, and thank you, Purnimaji. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajanji.